Men are now charged in the death of a transgender woman killed back in 2019. Family knew her as Ladime Doe. The Department of Justice announcing Daka Ritter is charged with a hate crime and obstruction of justice. Xavier Pinckney is charged with obstruction of justice and giving false statements to authorities. But even with those federal charges, South Carolina authorities still can't charge either with a hate crime. Our Will Rio is live in the studio to explain why.
Yeah, South Carolina is one of only 2 states without a hate crimes law in place right now. The bill was sitting in the Senate last year, but lawmakers did not approve it by the end of their session in May. That forced hate crime charges to come from the federal level after Ladime Doe's murder. The indictment alleges that Ritter shot Ladime Doe, a transgender woman, because of Doe's actual and perceived gender identity. The hate crime count against Ritter carries a maximum penalty of life in prison. The counts charging Ritter and Pinckney with obstruction of justice carry a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. According to the Human Rights Campaign, 2021 was marked as the deadliest year for gender diverse people, with last year still being above normal. They report fatal violence affects transgender women of color, primarily black transgender women. It's a lot more than other characters. But we talked to a local spokesperson for the mother of Felicia Harris, a transgender woman who was murdered in Augusta in 2020, and the mother of Keisha Chanel Jeter, who was shot and killed at the Knights Inn Hotel last year. They're working to start an organization called A Mother's Fight to stop violence in the LGBTQ community.
It's not going to happen overnight that laws are going to be written to protect against hate crimes in South Carolina, let alone the lives of the transgender population in South Carolina. It goes all the way up to the governor. Henry McMaster, what are you doing? What are you doing to protect these other individuals that reside in your state?
And I talked with an organization called South Carolina Equality and PFLAG, who say there's a need for a hate crimes bill right here in South Carolina, because if the federal government doesn't want to charge a person for a hate crime, the state has no option to do it on their own.